And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. I'm Taylor Phillips along with Ed Smith. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Like its Facebook page and subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast. Also, follow my Twitch at DT2Phillips1984 and on Twitter and Instagram at DT2Phillips. And follow Ed Smith, my co-host, on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at EdSmith313. We're going to start off with Tigers this time, and then we'll go to then we'll talk about Hunter Dickinson entering the transfer portal from Michigan. And then we'll check on the Red Wings and Pistons because they're almost done playing in their regular seasons. So why not check on them? But first off, the Tigers start off 2-5 after losing to the Boston Red Sox 6-3 on opening day at Comerica Park. They got swept by the Tampa Bay Rays, and then they took the first 2 of 3 from the Houston Astros, the defending World Series champions, at Minute Maid Park before losing 8-2. And then earlier today, they started off 2-1 and then 3-1 and then 3-2. But the Red Sox come back, score 4 runs, including an Adam Duvall 3-run home run off of Jose Cisnero when just a couple batters after Spencer Turnbull had to duck out of the way and at the same time twitched his neck, might have pulled a tendon or something, and then got himself in a further jam. Yes, Spencer Turnbull was responsible for the 2 runners and took the loss, but Cisnero was the pitcher that gave up that 3-run home run. Pitched a 1-2-3 seventh, but still a pyro in our eyes. Just much like it gave up a game-tying 3-run home run in Houston in Game 1 of that series against the Astros.
Yeah.
And the bats went silent again yesterday in Houston, and then again today. There was one bright spot. Again, Jake Rogers with a 2-run home run to open the scoring, but that Miguel Cabrera single, by the way, as an RBI, 3,091 hits in his career. Yeah, that's close to 3,100. And then you got hitters that are like hitting around 100 or less. Javier Baez, 080. Nick Maton, 067. Jonathan Scope, 111. The last I checked.
Eric Haas will be another one too.
Yeah, that too, huh?
Yeah, he's in the 100s.
Yeah,
he is. He has some pop, and he's shown at least some good. What I saw at least today, some good fielding, some good footwork, and out in left field, the way he was fielding everything. But his offense leaves much room for improvement. Taylor, I will say this in terms of regards to the Tigers' start to the season so far. It's compared to how my feeling is now compared to what it was, say, a week ago, in the middle of the absolute disaster of an opening series against Tampa. Night and day difference. After that opening series where they got completely swept, I felt complete dread and misery. Thankfully, after what they were able to do in Houston against the defending World Series champions, it was a much needed boost. Frankly, it helped when you see your 2 promising young studs, young prospects in the lineup, Torkelson and Green, having a little bit of showcase moments of their own right. Whether it be Torkelson getting 4 hits, including a double and a home run, or Green having 7 hits, including a homer himself, scoring 5 runs, and as well as a triple, and not to mention showing off the glove, his own with a couple of, well, at least with a nice good Superman dive out in the outfield in one of those games. So very nice to see that they didn't let that opening series against Tampa get their spirits down and dwell their confidence. It was also nice to see Matt Verling have a great series as well. He had 7 hits and a homer as well. Didn't have much of a good showing today, but there's always room for Saturday. Now, in terms of what we saw today, there was a whole lot going on because, as you know, Taylor, I think I've discussed this with you before, and it's pretty much common knowledge or common acceptance at this point amongst not just Tiger fans, but pretty much residents all across this state. Opening day in the city of Detroit is essentially its own holiday, or at least, in terms of how it means to the sports portion, uh, the sports fandom portion of the state. When you consider the fact that there's probably on a short list of days that rival this type of atmosphere, this type of level of fun and excitement, I would say what, maybe Thanksgiving Day for the Lions. And whenever there was an important playoff game or playoff series for the Red Wings, like say for example they're facing the Avs in the 2000s or the late 90s or something to that effect. But in terms of that type of level of atmosphere, few rival whatever we see every year in downtown for opening day at Comerica Park. Um, and we saw it again here today with the opening ceremony, and it bared important weight this time around for sure, because it's the final go around for Miguel Cabrera. This will be his final season. So this meant that today was going to be his final opening day in Detroit. And what better way to open that or celebrate that was to have a ceremony where 3 past all-time greats in Detroit sports, 3 of them Hall of Famers, mind you, Ben Wallace, Calvin Johnson, and Nick Lidstrom, all throwing out the ceremony opening first pitch. But with one little added surprise, they asked for a special guest to come join them. And this man, of course, is a future Hall of Famer himself. It was the man of honor, Mickey. So it was very nice to see, basically a combination of past, present, and future in terms of the Mount Rushmore, or at least some would debate a Mount Rushmore of all-time greatness in the history of Detroit sports. So it was nice to see that before the game got started. Things were looking nice early, Taylor, I will say. For Spencer Turnbull, he had, in my opinion, a much better start this time around compared to how he went against Tampa. I think against the Rays, he went a couple innings, got batted around all over the place. This time around, he had a 9-pitch first inning. He showed, in my opinion, much better start than what his counterpart Chris Sale did. Sale, in his last outing, gave up 3 home runs. Today, he started out real shaky, had bad control problems, walked 2 straight batters in the first inning on 8 consecutive pitches. Tigers were showing some good patience early on, fouling off pitches, driving up his pitch count. Unfortunately, though, between Green and Haas and Torkelson, they all went down in strikes in order, right, just like that. So that was Sale showing off that, yes, he got himself to a jam, but there's a reason why he's one of the best pitchers in the game, because he has the stuff and the capabilities to get himself out of said jams. So there's a little bit back and forth of that going on, whether it be Yoshida getting on base with an infield hit due to his speed, or Torkelson getting on base with an error. It was a low scoring game for the most part. Thankfully, though, the scoring did open up, like what you mentioned, Taylor, with the home run from Rogers. It helped, mind you. I noticed how he got that home run because he saw Sale give him a first pitch breaking ball way inside. So I guess what he did was he might have guessed the next pitch correctly because he was sitting on a fastball. And when Sale gave it to him, he hammered it right out of the park. So it was good to see that. Good to see he showed good instinct for him as a catcher, but also development as a hitter as well. So that was nice to see. Now, of course, with Boston, the type of roster that they've put themselves together, they weren't going to back down that easy. So it seemed like every single time that the Tigers were going to get a run or try to create distance, the Red Sox would immediately come back. They made it 2-1 in 1 inning, and then eventually, after Cabrera hit a single to get an RBI to make it 3-1, then Boston comes right back, makes it 3-2, and then all of a sudden they tie it up. It becomes a bullpen game. Unfortunately, with Boston's bullpen, they were able to outlast ours, or in this case, with Cesarno giving up the big time home run again. That essentially was the difference in this game, despite the effort that we saw from Englert and and others, but mainly from Englert. What his effort in the eighth and the ninth, I believe, or at least in the seventh. But unfortunately, just wasn't enough. That four run sixth inning, that was the difference. And then Kenley Jansen got the close in the ninth. So unfortunate that
Former Dodger.
the former Dodger. Unfortunate that the fans couldn't be sent home happy on opening day, but I still see potential signs of progress between Torkelson and Green. I like what I see there. If Haas can get his head straight and be more consistent, he'll be fine. I like the power that I see from Rogers, amongst other things. Now, right, this team is not going to wow people. We get that based on the pieces that are there.
No, not the entire team, no.
Yeah, and based on the roster that was set up for this current regime, based on what we saw from the last regime. Because let's remember, this is year one of the Scott Harris era, but he's basically dealing with so much baggage from Al Avila. So we got to see what Scott Harris can do, what he can muster, what he can move around. He can only do so much. He can weed this out layer by layer, phase by phase. Now, it was interesting to note that he was in the booth in the third inning to talk with the commentators about how things or expectations could go and how he wanted this team to respond after what happened in regards to what happened after the series last week against Tampa. He said it was like a punch in the mouth, getting punched in the mouth, that type of feeling. So wanted to see what type of fight, what type of resolve that the team would show. And the fact that they took 2 out of 3, they took a series against the defending champions, and in my opinion, had a more than adequate showing today against another solid team in the Boston Red Sox, shows that, no, this team is not going to go anywhere this year. Is it more likely that we'll be lucky to win, say, 60 or 70 games than say 80? Yeah. But I do see that there's potential signs of progress where I can have hope for the future. I think, or I believe rather, that if things were to go the right way, if you give AJ Hinch the right amount of patience, potentially make some moves at around the deadline or whatever, you could see some progress being made towards the down home, the back end stretch of the season, to where it gives you more some promise for what this team can be for next year. You're hoping for a Red Wings type of progress, type of season. I'm not aiming for the Lions because that's too high based on what the Lions did. But if you can aim for more Red Wings type of trajectory, based rather than what we saw from the Pistons this year, for example, then that'll be pretty good to see.
Yeah. So, AJ Hinch is going to make mistakes, too, on his own, bringing in Jose Cisnero, not once but twice, and allowing Cisnero to give up a 3-run home run in each of his 2 relief appearances, for example.
To be fair, it is early in the season. He wants to see what he's got, but I agree. You can't keep – it's like a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me type of thing. AJ Hinch has got to know at some point, if Cisnero's not getting it done, you can't keep bringing him into high leverage situations.
Right, especially when it's when the Tigers are 3 runs, but there are 2 runners on, the tying runs at the plate potentially, and then when it's tied and there are runners on, you got to get out of a jam, but somehow don't. Neither of these are unacceptable if you want to win more games than just 2, for example. You gotta have more mental preparation. You gotta study them more. You gotta expect as a pitcher, as a relief pitcher, you gotta earn the manager's trust.
Yes,
but the manager
and also as a hitter though. But as a hitter though, you also in some cases you have to expect the pitcher to make adjustments. Because like early on in that game, they had Sale on the ropes. They let him out the hook. There was too many instances where they left man stranded on base. They allowed Sale to get readjusted to get himself comforted under control, and then he was able to make things more of an easy sail from then on out. So that was an example of where you had a chance to bury him early, but you didn't, and I think it came back to bite him in the end. Yeah, so they got to work on that. Work on that.
Yeah, hopefully it's a lesson learned. So the Tigers have tomorrow off, and then they play the Red Sox 4:10. I gotta work at Samaritas. By the way, 4 to 8. I'll probably DVR the whole thing. Then on Easter I got to work early in the morning. But anyway, the Tigers Easter Sunday 1:10. Let's see, home. Yeah, they're home. Joey Wentz against Tanner Houck at 4:10 on Saturday, and then Matthew Boyd against Crawford on Sunday at 1:10. Both those two games are on Valley Sports Detroit, of course. Cutter Crawford, that is, number 50. He's 0-1, very sluggish numbers thus far, although it's only one appearance. 15.75 ERA, 250 whip. Joey Wentz, no record thus far, a 4.15 ERA. Not bad by Joey Wentz. Only a 1.15 whip. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'll give Joey Wentz the benefit of the doubt, although Joey Wentz didn't even take a loss in Tampa.
He's gonna have his work cut out for him because he's going against one of the best lineups in all baseball.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, including Devers. All those guys. Yeah, watch out.
Devers, Duvall,
Duvall, yeah. Never underestimate them. The Red Sox, like I said last weekend, the Red Sox are no joke.
Of course not.
Tigers learned the hard way earlier today.
That AL East in general is no joke when you think about it. Boston, the Rays, even the Yankees. The Yankees to an extent.
Yeah, the Yankees. I think are a top we're a top contender going into this regular season on paper. But it looks like the Yankees are 4-2, and the Rays still 6-0.
Mm-hmm. So, like I said, that division, that AL East is loaded. It's unfortunate that the Tigers got the short end of the stick basically to open the season, but you play who's on your schedule. You play
the
who
Rays
you play.
are good. They just simply outmatched the unprepared Tigers.
I wouldn't say they're unprepared. They're just better. Period.
Oh yeah. Well, it's both. Right. The Rays are way better. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they have to be. They're as prepared as possible. They're just not as good of a team right now as compared to the other ones. That we
right. That's true. So, yep. So that's Tigers. We'll stay on top of them as best so. Now the Hunter Dickinson story. He entered the transfer portal, and he was talking with Kentucky. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, there are reports going on that one of the teams that he mentioned, or has mentioned, being in conversation with was Kentucky. I think that'd be an interesting fit. In terms of Hunter Dickinson, to me, it's not a surprise hearing about this, given how his current pro projections look like. It's looking like that, he's not going to be a lottery pick. Highly doubtful he'll get selected in the NBA draft. I doubt he wants to go play overseas or whatever the case may be. So I think for him, at this moment, his best chances would be to enter the transfer portal. So there have been some instances before where other players or notable players of his caliber have entered the transfer portal only to then return to his team. One name and one of a player that did this recently escapes me at the moment, but it is an example of this happening. But in terms of Dickinson, I doubt that's the case. He does show, of course, great poise in terms of being an offensive, I would say, scorer. He's an efficient offensive scorer. He's able to get you 15, 16, 17 points a game if need be. Give you good efficiency, close to a double-double on a great day. But he has been a defensive liability, and it has shown itself in full force this past season for him and the Wolverines. So it's like a risk-reward, feast or famine type of deal that you're going to get with Dickinson. Yeah, you'll get this tremendously good player that can get you buckets when you need it, but this is the caveat, this is the trade-off that you have to deal with it that comes with him with his talent. So, hey, I wish him luck, wish him nothing but the best, but compared with this and Kobe Buffkin declaring, that's like what a high majority of your front, of your offense, of your scoring, 60% of your scoring offense from last season, that's gone. So now all of a sudden, that seat potentially that some may have thought was already warm or hot for Juwan Howard may have just got a little bit warmer, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, a bit hotter in my eyes. So, yeah, that puts more pressure on Juwan Howard. We talked about that a week ago. So that was right after our last episode of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast, and it came to a surprise to us when the news initially broke. So there's that, and now the statuses of the Red Wings and the Pistons Red Wings are down 6-5 to the Buffalo Sabres. The Red Wings called a timeout. Um, they got 104 left in the third period. Uh, the Red Wings they clobbered the Montreal Canadiens 5-0 at Bell Center
Hmm.
in Montreal two nights ago. They're 35, 33, and 9 with 79 points. The Red Wings are not tanking, unlike the Pistons, who are 16 and 63. The Red Wings are not fooling around. They're practicing their energy and the momentum with all their talent stacked on their roster, and they're practicing all that for next season to
Yeah,
to try to prove that they're at least a playoff contender.
yeah, for sure. They're trying to close this year strong while trying to set and table expectations properly for next year. Basically, similar to what I mentioned earlier, or what the Lions have been doing. For the Red Wings, in this case, more than likely they're not going to make the playoffs this year. They're still fighting. You know, you see the graphic in terms of teams playing for that last wild
Yes,
card
the
spot.
fight. That's what they've been
You
practicing.
know, and good up. You know, credit to them.
They
Kudos
just
to
tied
them.
it.
Oh, well, there you go. They still fight. That there goes again another example of how they're trying to show character and resolve and build traits for what they want to be, but not just this season, but next year as well. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I was
yeah,
making sure
yeah.
that you hear me good because I saw your attention was turned to the TV. But I get it. They just
Sorry.
tied it up. That's okay. You're good. But between that, it was good to see Ville Husso return the other night. That was a good, another good sign as well. But this finishing the year stretch, he had a good performance in his return, basically. And also, let's not forget the fact that I've been mentioning all year that Dylan Larkin, if he wanted to get that payday or close to that payday as possible, he was going to have to show me something. Well, he just accomplished, recently what over 70 points, 75 points total. Um, and
Almost
not to
80.
and not to mention, he just crossed the 30 goal mark, the 30 goal scorer mark for the season. So this is like what the second time now he's accomplished it in his career. I had mentioned before. Listen, if you want to show me that you want to be one of the top centers, one of the top paid centers in the game, you got to score some goals. And the fact that he was able to pull off a 30 goal season this year, kudos to him. Hats off to him. That's the production I want to see. That's the expectation that comes with being the captain of the Red Wings as well. So good
Exactly.
on Larkin to do that. Now we got to see if he can keep that up for next year as well. But hey, again, this is what I want to see. This is what the progress you want to see from your
This is
teams.
what
Like
we want him to prove to us every single season.
yes, and not just for him, but also the whole team in general. What can you do? How
Yeah.
how how can you get better? Can you take that next step? Get to that
As a
next
team,
level,
help each
that
other,
next tier? Exactly.
communicate, all that stuff.
Because the moment when that disaster happened that went down when they lost back to back in Ottawa and got smashed, that was the sign that Eisman
Not once,
needed to
but
do.
twice.
Yeah, that was the sign that Eisman knew that okay, this year, okay, not quite, not time yet. We're doing good, but it's not that time yet. So he made moves at the deadline.
They're
I think
getting
no
there.
matter yeah, and no matter yeah, exactly. And please, the guys that we see coming up through Grand Rapids and through our farm system, whether it be Edvinson, Carter, you name it, up and down. We got guys that are ready to go and are going to be ready to go soon. So what Eisman is doing is basically he's following the same template that not only that he started and some would say perfected in Tampa, but I would argue he learned from watching up close and personal during his time in Detroit, both as a player and as a person in the front office, potentially being groomed to take over Ken Holland before he decided to leave for Tampa because Holland didn't want to get replaced, and we all know how that story went. But still, the fact that Eisman's being able to bring it full circle for now and showing that his plan, the Eisner plan, yes, which we are starting to see it bear fruit just a little bit. It's not quite ripe yet, but for the key ingredients, it's coming along nicely.
Yep, it is. Oh, Red Wings were this close to taking the lead,
Mm.
but it's icing with 10.0 seconds left. Pistons 16 and 63. Yet, yes, they
Oh
hold the
boy.
first overall lottery pick, but more importantly, their head coach has to go.
Well, odds. We don't know if they'll get the lottery pick. We got to see how the ping pong balls go. Because even if you have the worst record you still only got a 14% shot of getting it. At worst, you may end up in the top five. So it's not even a guarantee that they'll even be in the top three. So while
Right.
I would obviously we would love to get that pick, the tank is almost finished. It worked for us great 2 years ago. That's how we got Cade. You'd love to see it one more time. But again, what you want to look out for more and you want to see more is the positives, or the improvements or the developments. What have you seen from other players? What have you seen from Isaiah Livers? What have you seen from Jaden Ivey, from Jalen Duran, from even James Wiseman, who while there were detractors, and understandably for good reason, I think he's handled himself quite well in terms of for his own method in regard to how he has played on the court. It's not his fault that the team sucks. So that some people got to get that better properly understood. Now, knowing all of that and seeing of how what the potential for this team can be, A, when you have Cade coming back, B, whatever lottery pick you end up with, whether it be Wembanyama, whether it be Stephen Miller, whether it be Scoop Henderson, or whoever, you can find a way to pair him. Uh, if it means moving on from potentially from a Killian Hayes or Isaiah Stewart, you do what's necessary to get the right fit for that roster to help you start winning some games. And yes, it falls on Cade Cunningham too. He's got to show us that he can stay healthy, that he can stay consistent, be there for a full season or close to it, and be this leader that this team needs to make its next step in its progression. So, it goes bears without saying. We mentioned the draft. And we can also not to mention free agency with the Pistons. I'm sure they're going to have enough cap space to do at least trying to make some moves, try to see what they can do. But also, I think this is also most important: coaching. They've got to take care of coaching. Dwayne Casey has got to go, in my opinion. It is far past time. We need a new voice. We need a new direction. We need something that's far better and that's going to give us more promise of where we're going to go than where we're at right now. I don't know who was on
Someone
their
who has
list.
the mentality to push them, whether they have experience or not.
Exactly. I just don't see that in Casey, unfortunately. I'm
No.
sure the players may like him, but there's a difference between likability and being a coach. Sometimes you got to do what's necessary to get the best out of your players. I don't think Casey's done that, and it shows in the results for multiple years now. So if it's not working at this point, it's never going to work. So all due respect to him and everything that he's done before, it just hasn't worked out here. So I'd be more than looking forward to see the team move forward in a new direction next season, without question.
Yep. And the Red Wings and Sabres are headed to overtime, tied at 6 goals apiece. Three
What
on
a,
three coming up, but we'll
what
keep
a
you posted
cliffhanger.
on social media because we're about to wrap this episode up of the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Um, for Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. Follow the Michigan Sports Truth podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth. Like its Facebook page and subscribe to its YouTube channel at the Michigan Sports Truth podcast. Also on my Twitch at DT2Phillips1984. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DT2Phillips. Follow Ed Smith on Twitter and Instagram and Twitch at EdSmith313. Special business shoutouts go to Cali Tickets. Call Mark Goldman at 877-225-8425 or visit CaliTickets.com. Cadillac Nutrition. Download the Engage app to place an order for an iced or hot protein coffee, an energy tea, or a protein or post-workout shake. Creative embroidery of Cadillac for designing the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast logo on my long sleeve shirt and t-shirt. United Food Service Solutions of Grand Ledge, Michigan, where Jim Lyons works. The Edo Ramen House in Royal Oak, 248-556-5775, or EdoRamenHouse.com. Follow Edo Ramen House on Instagram. The Red Ox Tavern in Auburn Hills. Cuts by Melanie in Lake City. Yen Yoga and Fitness in Traverse City. The Vig It mobile app. And Northern Star Event Rentals in Cadillac. Call Heather Krzyzewski at 231-884-8195 to order rentals on bounce houses, tents, tables, all that good old stuff. Inflatable water slides, all that fun stuff. Summer's around the corner, but spring is already here. So reserve your order right now, 231-884-8195, or like them on Facebook, Northern Star Event Rentals. So, with that being said, we'll talk again sometime next week. For Ed Smith, I'm Taylor Phillips. Well, we'll see you next week. Ta-ta for now. We close our case. Hit them with a hind.
Take care, everybody. Be safe.